In the meantime, let's begin. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I'd like to begin our practice today by sharing with you a sentiment of metta, loving kindness. And I'm just going through my basket here. Ah, this is a sweet one. It's a wee one. For those of you who don't know, I like to paint on paper these little random colors, lines, streaks, swirls, and then I chop them up into wee bits and I write sentiments of metta on the back. If you're an artist and you send me cards, um, people know to leave them blank because I chop them up and turn them into sentiments of metta. This one reads, "May you know peace. May you know peace." For the month of January in the Spokane Sangha, we are exploring the first noble truth. Now, for the year 2026, we have returned as a community back to fundamentals, back to the foundation of a Buddhist practice, which is the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. However, one of the things that we're doing unique to this tradition is we're implementing and providing different language as a way of broadening and expanding the understanding of what the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path means. Now, this is a practice that I have created for myself. I needed to look at the traditional language around the Four Noble Truths, for example, in a way that felt a little less religious and a little bit more in tune with my life. So, for instance, the first noble truth is there is suffering. Suffering's kind of heavy handed to my mind. I'm not always suffering. I'm not always in agony, which is a synonym for my mind associated with suffering, but I'm often uncomfortable. I'm often irritated, annoyed, disappointed, confused. That is language for me that is associated with suffering, discomfort. One of the things that's important to me and to my practice is to also recognize that while there is suffering, there is also ease. So, for my practice and for my mind, I really like to frame my experience, recognizing the dualistic nature of my perceptions. So, I'm uncomfortable on one hand, and I've got comfort on the other hand. And in between is my life. And look at how much there is to understand just in this. In this situation, I'm uncomfortable. In this situation, I have comfort and ease. And what are the conditions defining everything going on in between? One of the things I like to remember is the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, nearly 2,600 years ago, understood these conditions for himself. And let's just leave it at that. And I encourage that because sometimes when I go out in my mind and I think about all the good that the Buddha did and all the stories and all the legends, I start to think of the Buddha as a kind of deity. and he wasn't. He was a human being. And his capacity to understand the conditions of his own life is a capacity that I too, with training, with practice, can gain access to. We all possess Buddha nature. We all possess the capacity to understand ourselves, the conditions of our lives that cause us to be uncomfortable, and the conditions of our lives that cause us to have comfort. Now, what we're exploring in our community this month is how both extremes can be sources of misery. Too much of a good thing is not great, right? So, and we're all here in a recovery community trying to gain understanding to our own habit energy, because our habit energy at one point was effective and then it wasn't. Our habit energy that once brought us comfort and relief has become a source of suffering, a source of discomfort, a source of confusion. So, to understand both extremes enables us to come back toward the middle way. And the middle way, friends, is fluid. The middle way is always in motion. We are volleying between one extreme to the other, always. And it's important to understand those extremes as distortions. And this week, one of the themes that kept coming up for people as we were talking about this was worth on one hand and worthlessness on the other. Both have the potentiality to be distortions. Because on the one hand, if I'm so worthy, I'm so great, I'm this amazing person, where is my award? And then on the other extreme, I'm the worst, worthless piece of shit that was ever created on the earth. Where is my award? And the reality is, I'm somewhere in the middle, right? I'm neither the best person nor the worst person. That attitude and that inner critic voice simply reflects an immature ego that is constantly wanting to convince myself that I'm either one or the other. The practice and the exploration of the first noble truth is to say, okay, these extremes can be here and they serve as points of distortion. My job is to find, where am I experiencing feelings of worthlessness? What are the conditions of that? And where am I feeling experiences of success? And what are the conditions there? The two combined make the whole of me. Today, for our reflection, I'd like to bring forward a psychological concept that often happens, in my mind anyway, whenever I experience deep insecurity, doubt, or confusion. That's an expression of my discomfort, my misery, my suffering. So let's take a moment and come into the body just for a second. Just turn your gaze inward and see if you can bring some concentration to the breath for a moment as you listen to this perspective. When I experience upset that creates confusion and doubt and insecurity, I have a tendency when I'm caught in that swirl of feeling to engage in something I call the pile on. So let's say I'm going to make up a situation and it's going to include an interaction with one of my kids. And let's say it's not a great interaction. They've said something that's activated me. I've reacted in kind. I've said something equally activating, unskillful. And we've volleyed back and forth. And then now we're taking a break, and neither of us is feeling particularly good. It's kind of heated, lots of confusion, lots of feeling. And then the voices come. Oh my God, I can't believe you said that, Julia. What is the matter with you? I thought you were a practitioner. I thought you knew better. I can't believe you allowed yourself to get hooked by this. What is your problem? You know, you're really not a very good mom. And then that just opens the door to the pylon. And before I know it, every example of being a less than perfect mom just comes on in. A flood of memory. Oh, yeah. You remember when you did this? Remember when you did that? You remember when you did this? Oh, and then how about this isn't a mothering thing, but how about the time that you did this with this person? And that person would have killed you to behave in this way and said that on and on. The pile on. It's a barrel of laughs in my mind when this happens. It's a heap of fun. Yikes, right? Yikes, the pylon. And I go looking for it. That's the funny thing. I'm in a state of confusion and I go looking for more confusion. I go looking for more evidence to prove what a terrible person I am. And no surprise, I find it because I'm really good at this. And here's the worst part. Take a deep breath. The worst part is all of it's true. Every last piece of it is true. And still, it doesn't speak to the truth of me. That's the kicker. This enormous mountain, this enormous pylon of misconduct and unskillfulness, all of it's true. I'm looking at it going, yikes, ow, that's painful. It hurts. I regret so much. All of it is true. And not the whole truth, because way over here, free from all of that evidence, all of those examples, are these quiet success stories, these shyer illuminations reminding me I did this well, I did that well. Hey, remember how you learned from that regret and you did this, that, and the other thing differently? That's amazing. The first noble truth is there is suffering. And if I'm not paying attention, I have the capacity to pile it on myself, to shackle myself to it, to tie myself to it as if that's the only thing that defines me. But there's a whole other aspect to me that is highly successful, mediocre too. So much more there. So I can't forget it. I have to bring myself out of it. I have to practice it. And it takes great courage and strength and self acceptance to be able to look at all of my misgivings and say, yeah, I did all of that. And I have shame and I have guilt. Yep. Because I'm a human being learning how to become whole. And so I have to include in this mix what makes me whole, which is all this other stuff, all of these other virtues. And my aspiration is very simple. I simply aspire to be whole. I simply aspire to look at all my misgivings and all of my goodness with equanimity. I'm neither the worst person in the world, nor am I the greatest. I'm somewhere in the middle, trying to increase my understanding of what it means to be the best human I can be. And for me, the best human I can be is to put a little less harm into the world. And that includes a little less harm toward myself. To be able to excavate myself from the pylon and to be able to witness freely with great acceptance the goodness that I have achieved. To be able to stand and see both, for me, is to know peace. Breathing in, may you know the goodness and the badness. Breathing out, may you journey the middle way in discovery. Breathing in, may you understand the bothness of you. Breathing out, to become whole. Breathing in, may you know peace. Breathing out by becoming peaceful. Together, let's enjoy a few moments of silence and notice what you notice. ahead, friends, and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. Breathing in and breathing out. A gentle reminder here today that your efforts matter. Your presence matters. Remember that when you arrive here and you show up here, you're bearing witness to individuals, to yourself, to the community as a collective soul. All of that matters. And it matters because right now we are in a time where things are amplifying in terms of confusion, aggression, and hostility. And so, if we can become more peaceful in our manner, that doesn't mean weak, it doesn't mean unboundaried, it means peaceful, able to find balance between how aggression lives within us and how ease lives within us. That combination is peace. But it requires practice, it requires effort. And so your efforts here today are monumental. They leave a lasting impression in this community. So, with that, I want to share with you really impeccable words by Thich Nhat Hanh. He said, "There is no way to peace. Peace is the way." There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. May peace be before you, behind you, above you, beneath you, beside you. May you walk surrounded in peace as you continue and as I continue to become more peaceful, to really enter into life as an instrument of peace. I believe we were created for this. Thank you for your practice today, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.